Howdy, y'all. It's your favorite trainer with a belt buckle. Check out this interview, How to Get Hired at Equinox. We're talking with Carlos, who's one of our first online interns. Absolutely crushed it. Is hired now. Stay tuned. He's going to be one of the top trainers at the brand, I guarantee you. Watch this interview.
All right.
There we go. So we got our main man, Carlos, over here.
Happiest man in the universe these days.
Yeah, and I think that you got probably one of the coolest stories. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think you were the first online intern. I believe that we met in maybe December. And well, how about you just kind of tell us about your story? If you don't know Carlos, he's just hired at the Miracle Mile, I believe, Equinox.
Yes.
And he's going to tell you a pretty cool little story about how we met and where he is today. And we're going to talk about how this didn't do much for him.
It's a good place to set your beer. If you need a place, if you don't want to get anything wet, just, that's where
I like that. I think that's good.
That's where you put that. We actually met before December, well, more or less through social media, because I would always comment on your posts, because you actually saw one of my posts because I followed NASM and you liked one of my comments, and that's why I found you guys. And so I gave a follow, and there would always be some kind of back and forth about some of your posts. And then, I was reaching out to you about the internship, before that, because I was trying to get involved, but you only had the daytime ones. We were talking about possible night internship, but that fell through. And then I had already been certified at that point. And right when I was considering going for the next certification, because I had no idea what else to do, then you reached out and you told me that you were starting the whole online internship. So, I lucked out. I saved myself an extra $500 spent on another certification.
Wow, I love that. And so then we had I don't know if it was like a student highlight, but you came in and you got your first session in. I remember you learned a lot during that. You trained Danny Coco and
embarrassing moments.
And it's just so cool to see that training session. And then you go to starting to get your own clients and you're learning from your mistakes there. You're putting together your resume as you're proceeding forward, and we can't really do too much with COVID. So pretty much out of commission for 12 months, but you are still training in the meantime within what you're capable of. You make a pretty risky decision by moving places to get a better opportunity to train more, which I thought was pretty brilliant. We talked about that. And then you went to the whole Equinox route. So why don't you take us through the first step, the interview stuff, and then that hire run process, and I'll ask you some questions along the way.
Okay, well, first of all, I was like a lot of new trainers. We hear about, the corporate and, you're going to have to actually make a sale. It's like, yeah, well, duh. Even if you're an independent trainer, you're still going to have to know how to make a sale, But the more I thought about it, for me, I was doing the whole independent thing, and I'm training on the weekends, and it's like on and off. And, I got to that point where it was starting to feel like if I don't go corporate, this trainer thing is going to end up being nothing more than a hobby. So I said, no, you know what? It's time to take a shot at it. So, I applied. I was actually surprised that they responded, in the timely manner that they did, so we got things going. So it was a 3-part interview. First one was phone interview. Second, in person. That's where I had to put my suit on. And then the third one was the practical application, where we actually walked the floor, did some programming, did some role playing. And, I felt like I was very prepared. And that was, really the game plan from the beginning, was to be prepared for everything. So, and it worked out well.
So let's start with the first one, the phone interview. You probably met with Sharon, thank you. And so this isn't like the toot our horn, but we've helped over 60 people get hired at Equinox, same with Lifetime. And the corporate structure is pretty simple. The first interview is just to kind of eliminate the idiots. The second one is to eliminate the idiots times 2. And the third one is to see, can you actually implement what your resume says? So what were some of the questions that they're going to ask you on that first interview?
They're definitely going to ask you, why do you want to work here? They're going to ask you, what are some quality traits that you think a personal trainer should have? And of course, they're going to ask you, what are your strengths and what are some things that you think you can work on? And, things of that such. And it was very conversational after a certain point. One thing I really want to add to what you just said, as far as, what they want to eliminate, I really think, in addition to the whole HELP NIC acronym, anybody will really just need to be yourself first and foremost, because you're not going to fool people if you're trying to be somebody you're not. Be who you are, be confident in that, because those are things that are going to get people noticing you right away. In the first 2 minutes, if they don't feel that confidence, they don't feel like you're being yourself, right away you're going to get,
Exactly. And so for those that don't watch our YouTubes, or if you don't know me, I tend to be a little, I don't know what the right word would be, but I like to stir the pot. And so when I say idiots, I'm not calling people an idiot. I'm saying that they're looking for the people who call in and say, I just got certified. I'm looking to gain experience. That's someone they're not going to hire. They're just going to screen to see who's new, who has some experience, who's going to fit this gym that they're applying to. So I like that. So it's almost like just setting the expectations. And he said some important things, because we went to the Carlsbad Equinox about 2 weeks ago, and the manager there said, know about the company. And I talk about, I probably know more than Equinox than most Equinox employees do. So they have 106 gyms. They have 4 hotels in the process of, they're looking to grow into 200 gyms by 2030, double the amount that they have now. And so when you go in there, you should know about precision nutrition. You should know about FMS. You should know about their systems. And most importantly, which I'll say here in a second. So you passed that first one. You showed up. What time was your appointment?
For the in-person interview, 1:30. I was probably there significantly earlier than that, just because that's just how I am. So I, did what I would normally do. It just went across the street and sat at the coffee shop until it was almost time. But yeah, it was 1:30.
Beautiful. So yeah, the worst excuse in the world is traffic. If you have an appointment at 1:30, why not get there at 12? Go next door, have some coffee, relax, be prepared. Better to be on time than even a few minutes late. Dress the part. I'm sure he posted on his Facebook. He had a nice suit, looking very, very slick. They brought you in. Now, was this you and a manager? Was this a small group? What was that interview like?
It was just me and the PC manager. That's all it was. And, one thing I really wanted to do in that interview was, because I told Sharon, I said, my strengths are work ethic and preparation. So I wanted to do everything I could to back up those statements to, like nobody's ever backed up anything in their life. I'm going to be definitely fully prepared for everything. I spent those couple of days before the interviews looking at the questions that are coming at you. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Why do you want to work here? Why are you picking this company? And I wanted my answers to come off crisp, and I wanted them to know I've been thinking about these things, in the days to come. So and that stuck out.
Preparation's huge. I love that. Did they give you any curveballs?
They did throw me one curveball. I actually think that was one of my better answers, though, because they asked me, well, obviously they're going to ask you, what are your goals? Where do you see yourself in 6 months, 1 year? And then halfway through the interview, he said, well, what if you don't get to those goals? What would you do? And, that was probably when I wasn't ready for it, but definitely, probably my best answer, because I just said, I'm going to reach out. I'm going to reach out to the other trainers. I'm going to reach out to the clients that I do have. I'm going to reach out to you and see how I can get better, because I feel like one thing that's important for a trainer to know is we cannot have an ego. And, when I said that, his eyes lit up. It's like, wow, because, as it turns out, one of the questions I asked him at the end of the interview, and speaking of the questions at the end of the interview, I didn't make it hard on myself. I just went to your book and picked out some of those. And so I asked him, I said, so what's the hardest thing about your job? He said, well, one of the hardest thing about my job is that I have too many trainers that have really big egos. So, he really liked that answer, when I said that.
When Carlos is talking about the book right here, that's going to get you hired right there. It's going to tell you what you need to know, what questions to ask. I love that question that you challenged them on. Egos. You got to just leave your ego at the door, be open to learn. And flattery is also a great thing. You could look at them and say, one day I want to be as lucky as you and be in that position. What's it going to take for me to get to your position, but do it even faster? That's just going to show dedication. It's going to show that you really want to be there. Most trainers, for some reason, they come in with a huge ego and they think they know everything. They don't want to learn, and they look great, but they can't communicate. And any day of the week, I would take someone with a personality over someone with looks, because a personality is what's going to relate. We're personal trainers. And so you crush that one. And so let's actually, before we get into the process between that first phone interview with Sharon, that first interview, and then that next hands-on one, what was the length of that?
The length of Sharon's interview?
So from the first part, which would be Sharon day one, when was the second one?
Oh, she actually, as soon as I got off the phone with her, because I was actually, right after I got off the phone with her, I hopped into Tony's class, because that was probably around the last week of that. And while I was in his class, she texted me, maybe 20 minutes later, you have your interview on Thursday. So that was from Monday to Thursday.
Great. And so then Thursday, you killed it, and they want you back. And so when was that next one?
Well, it's funny because in the second interview, he was already kind of telling me, yes, we're going to hire you, but in like so many words, he's saying stuff like, I'm assuming you're going to want to put your 2 weeks in for your other job, right? I'm like, yeah, of course. So when the interview was over, he said, I'll probably contact you in about 7 days, so we can set up the practical interview. He said, I actually have somebody to interview right after you get out of here. I said, okay, fine. So he said 7 days, but as soon as I got home, maybe 2 hours after the interview, he was calling me saying, can you come through on Saturday? So I'm guessing that interview after me didn't go very well. So, but yeah, from Thursday, and I told him I could come in on Sunday. So then it was Monday, Thursday, and Sunday.
So, and here's some fascinating facts for y'all watching this. If you're not familiar with Show Up Fitness, make sure to check us out on Instagram. Carlos is an online intern, and we met probably maybe 2019, and now he just got hired at Equinox, and we're talking about the process, helping you guys get hired. If you do get hired, make sure you say that Carlos got you hired so he gets hooked up in the future. But I also want to highlight the importance of right now the corporate structure. So prior to COVID, we're talking December 2019, they had over about 3,400 trainers. As of June 19th, that was when we had our Austin seminar, and I was talking to some people at Equinox. They had less than 1,400. So you're looking at a drop of over 50% of trainers. So 50%, less than 50% came back to Equinox. They lost a lot of middle management. They lost a lot of big players because of the situation. And so they need great trainers. And so the managers that I've talked to, it was almost like it was a blessing in disguise because it trimmed off the fat. Now it's giving them an opportunity to bring on quality members. And so when they see something they want, like Carlos, they're going to get you through the process fast. Now, don't let this deter you. So if you reached out to Sharon, or if you got to that first interview and they don't get back to you within an hour or a day or two, you got to remember they're busy. And you may not just fit the role for that location. So the Miracle Mile, they could have had maybe 11 girl trainers, like, we really need a dude. But they can't put that out there in the job description. And so that manager could come back and you could be hiring as a girl, and they could be like, I have a really quality lead for a trainer here. She's 38, whatever. And they're like, no, we don't need girls. They're not going to be able to say that to you either. So don't let that get you down if you don't get hired. It's just like a game. You miss a shot. Okay, take your next shot. So go back to the process again and go to the next Equinox and go to the next one. There's 106 out there. There's plenty of them. You can mirror exactly what's happening with Carlos at a lifetime, and this will get you in the same exact. And so then you had that interview with the manager, and then you came in for the program. And talk to us, the practical part. Talk to us about that. Did you have to design a program or what?
Well, they told me wear all black, because that's what their Equinox's, clothing pattern is. So when I got there, the first thing we did, we walked the floor, and he asked me for some observations. He just said, look out on the floor, tell me, what you see, tell me who you would walk up to and why, and questions like that. I don't think there could be some bad answers, but they want to see what you think and how you think, and I just told him, I said, if I see somebody who's making eye contact with me, if I say hello, if somebody responds, if I see somebody who looks like they're unsure of the machine that they're, looking at, trying to figure it out, I might walk up to them, maybe somebody that's resting in between sets. I said, I really should see everybody as an opportunity at some point, in here. So he was just really wanting to see what I was thinking. And then we went into another room and we did some role playing. He said, I'm going to act like I'm a client. I'm over here stretching. I want you to walk up to me and, introduce yourself. How would you introduce yourself? And, there was some overcoming objections in that section. So I definitely pulled out Jared's notes because I knew, before the interview, I was like, this part is going to come at me. So I'm going to have to know, what objections I might have to overcome in this section. So, for that one, of course, for him, it was, I don't have time. So right away, I was like, okay, well, what would you say if I could tell you that I can get you a better workout in half the time you have, the rest of your day, if you say you're too busy, because, that's what Jared would always tell us. Then there was another part, the program design. He gave me a sample client. We've been doing programming for so long. He said, I want you to write up a program for this client. I'm going to walk out 20 minutes. I'll give you that time to write up a program. And I was pretty much done in 4 minutes as far as that goes. I went out of his office and I'm waving him down like I'm done. He wanted me to explain the rationale behind the program, exercise, order, selection. So of course I went through the whole thing that we know, multi-joint to single joint, core pattern, accessory, all the stuff that we learned. And, he loved it. He said, that's very close to how we program here at Equinox. So after that, he picked out 2 exercises for my program. He said, I want you to go out here and cue me, show me how to do it, cue me. I felt like I could have did a little better there, but, I was, able to do good enough. He showed me some bad form. I was able to, show him some better form, things of that sort. And, that's probably where your NASM trainer is going to, really fall short on that part right there. If you only pass NASM and they say, take me out on the floor. And the 2 exercises for me were the goblet squat and the single leg RDL or stagger stance RDL. I was actually hoping he would ask me about the dumbbell row because I was really going to nerd out on that one with the whole actions of the lats, but he didn't ask me that one. So after that, that was it. He said after that, he pretty much was telling me, okay, so this is what your first 2 weeks is going to be like when you get here. I'm like, oh, so he's telling me I got the job, in so many words. This is what it's going to be like. We're going to have you study. We're going to have you shadowing with some trainers. And he told me, he said, don't put in your 2 weeks yet because the onboarding process hasn't started. I'm like, okay. And that was it. And right after I got out the interview, I texted you right away. And I said, it sounds like it's about 99% there. That he called me 2 days later. He said, Carlos, do you accept the job? I said, heck yeah, I accept the job. Yeah, that's it.
I love it. So the roles have changed because when Carlos was in class, he was the one taking notes, but now I'm the one taking notes. And I love it because it's just such a cool story. And you mentioned NASM trainers, and I like to make fun of NASM trainers because you have to realize that NASM is not a fitness company. That's where people go wrong. They're a marketing company. They don't give a shit about you. They're not going to reach out to Carlos anytime soon to see if he's been placed at a job. All they're going to reach out and say, Carlos, 80% off, buy this, buy this, buy this. I'm a company. I want to grow my brand. I'm all about business in a free market. But there's a fine line between truly trying to help people versus just trying to get more out of them. So why isn't NASM doing this with Carlos right now, highlighting what he's doing at a corporate gym and getting into the door as quickly? And that's not because of, we're not taking any credit. No one should take any credit. The credit goes 100% to Carlos because he has the confidence and he went through that and he studied, he prepped. Those are things that you need to take a huge responsibility and accountability as a new trainer because this is your profession. Where most trainers are not going to go over any of their SWIFT goals. SWOT was 2010. That was NASM stuff. SWIFT goals, you got your strengths, your weaknesses, things you can implement today, things you can improve, innovations, and then your fears. So Carlos hammered all that stuff. He goes in there, he asks questions, but if you could just take anything from this, it's how his confidence is just exuding. And so that is being shown. The manager on the other side is like, wow, this guy is confident. That's exactly what we want. Where that first time, what happens is you're going through a stability ball press. What am I doing? I can only imagine what that interview would look like, Carlos, if you would have went in right after you got your NASM certification.
Oh man, I would have, first of all, like the whole thing with, one of the exercises he asked me to show him was the squat. And, he showed me some bad form, his knees, when it's a valgus. I wouldn't have even known what that was. He did the excessive forward lean. I probably would have stopped him and told him his abs are overactive and his glutes are underactive. And I probably would have told him you need to stretch. But instead of doing all that, I just did the simple thing. I said, hold on 1 second. Let me just go grab some of those plates. I want you to put your heels on these plates. And then that just cleans up the squat form. That's simple. There's nothing overactive and underactive, but that's probably what I would have did. That would have been, like I said, I would have been in bad shape. The programming, I wouldn't have known what to do. But, like I said, since we joined the internship, we've been programming. And once you understand the movement patterns and the anatomy, the programming is actually really easy, mm-hmm. And obviously, Sharon told me, which, they told me tier 2, since I went to do show up, say you get to skip the first tier because, we know all that stuff and go to tier 2. And I probably know a lot of stuff in tier 2 already as well, but, just in all honesty, so I can't wait to show them.
That's so great. And you're gonna be one of the faster trainers to build that book of business. And take a look at one of our other YouTubes, because we just did one on victimhood and that victim mindset. And there's an article that was released in 2020, early 2020, late 2019, and it talks about how bad Equinox is and blah blah blah. And I love that article because I challenge the exact opposite. And I look at it as, when you have a growth mindset and you want to learn and you look at this as an opportunity, you're going to get, you look at the last year where Carlos was absolutely capable to start training, but his repetitions, granted there was COVID, but the repetitions were few and far between. In the next 3 months, he's going to gain and just expedite his training career so much. And that's what career capital is. So now he has that brand on his back, Equinox, which is a well-known name. He's going to go out there. And I mean, let's be honest, Carlos, before today, and we can talk about this 2-3 months from now, how confident were you to charge $120, $130 per hour?
Not before today. 3 months ago, probably not very confident at all. One thing I wanted to point out, because I even told the manager there, because I was reading the Google reviews for that particular gym, and I went all the way back 3 years back, and one of their members said, I'm just, I wish these trainers would just stop standing around looking at us. I wish they would actually walk up to us and ask us what our goals are. And I told him that, and he was really impressed. He said, "Wow, I'm going to find that review, and I want to bring it up in the next meeting, that they actually do want us to talk to them. They just don't want us to be, salesy and be jerks about it. But they do want, they want our attention. They want us to come and offer our services as a trainer. So when you see that, hey, Equinox is doing the easy part. I mean, they're doing the hard part for us. They're supplying us with a state-of-the-art gym. They're putting all the clients who can afford our services and want our services right in front of us. We just have to do the easy part and go and show our value. And, that's it."
So you're looking at the average member in front of you is going to be making $250,000. So when you show them a package for $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, that's nothing. They can afford it. And you're smart. You have the working parts. You look the part. You talk the part. I think you're a cool hybrid, because you're a fucking psychopath because you like to know you're running, but you are jacked and you look the part. You're not this little frail guy who is, looking like he came out of a Justin Bieber, TV thing. It's like you have muscle, and it shows that you are just a perfect example of help Nick. And now I'm really excited to see your progressions and where you go from now, because who knows, maybe you want to get to a tier X, maybe you want to get into management, whatever that may be, but you get to choose that route. And as you continue to grow up, you're going to be able to grow through, you're going to be able to look back and say, what, I think that Equinox can improve this way. Now, don't think that every single manager is going to be exactly like the one Carlos had. I've had ones that have said they want him to design a full month program. Carlos would have aced that as well. When you are prepped, when you understand the fundamentals of movement, when you understand anatomy, when you understand progressions and regressions, and you know how to communicate with people, that's what's going to make you successful. Or the average trainer that goes through this, they're going to fail because they're so insecure. They have this false sense of entitlement, and they try to put on a show. And so when they give them just a home run pitch, they freak out. And so what would be something, because I see you, maybe you don't want to, but I see you getting into management quickly. I see you really blossoming in the ability to help other trainers as well. Let's pretend like, so for those that are watching, you could use this in the future. Let's pretend like you are now the person who is interviewing. I'm the trainer. What's a question that you would like to hear me ask you?
You ask me as the interviewer?
Yeah, so you're now the big boss, man. I'm essentially Carlos. You see how you crushed it and you made that really great question. What's a different type or new type of question you'd like to have me ask you?
Maybe something like, what are some of the biggest problems in the industry right now? And, how can we fix them together? I like that one. Something like that. What do you think is the biggest problem with how trainers, become certified, or how the entry level guidelines are? Maybe something like that. I think those would be good. I actually see the guidelines to become a trainer changing very soon, just based on the way they they didn't really address the whole NASM certification thing. You can tell maybe it's part of the guideline, but nobody really cares.
And people don't like listening to me. They like to say, "Oh, this guy's." I've been called a quack. I've been called a witch doctor. I love it. And they'll say that you absolutely need a certification to get hired at a gym. And I'll tell you, you don't. Carlos, how did you give them your certification?
Well, Sharon told me to bring it in, so I did. But the interview went well. The PT manager never asked for it after the second interview. And when he called me right after the interview, I said, "Hey, I noticed I forgot to give you a copy of my certification." He just said, "Oh, well, we can do that some other time." So I'm like, okay, he doesn't even care. So I emailed it to Sharon maybe the next day, and she said, "Oh, okay, I'll send it over." But there was literally nothing NASM related as part of the interview process. They didn't ask.
And it's not just NASM; it's any cert.
You
know what Sharon did with that? Nothing. Because at the corporate level, they have so much insurance, you don't need a certification. I've talked with people that are so high at Equinox and other gyms, and they say, "You don't need a cert. We're looking for quality." And that's what I tell people from the get-go. Focus on anatomy, movement. You don't need all these fucking pieces of paper. Why spend $900 or this $3,000 bundle for all these false pieces of paper that if you focus, you could do $100 on our intern for online for 1 month. And you will be more prepared than any trainer out there that has invested thousands. You do not need a certification even to work in the corporate gym. They're going to tell you do. It says it right on the thing. You need your cert. So how would you go about that? That's where you can talk to me on a one-off. And I'd be like, well, as I like to say, fabricate the truth. Because I would put Carlos, let's pretend like he didn't have his NASM cert, which did nothing for him except get him in contact with me, essentially. So if he didn't have that cert and he went through the internship, he is more qualified, in my opinion, than most Tier X trainers right now. And he's going in as a Tier 2. I saw a Tier X trainer the other day at Equinox in Westlake, and he was working with his client, and he had her with a black bar, which is like 12 pounds, walking forward in a walking lunge fashion on a BOSU ball. That guy's charging $175, and my mind is thinking, what the fuck is that? What is the application for that? Moving into an unstable surface, that's just strength is going to improve that. So why not just take the BOSU ball aside? Why not do a reverse lunge, overload it, strengthen your bones, strengthen the tissue. You'll help prevent sarcopenia, osteoporosis, so many benefits of proper overloading. But this person's charging $175. And so Carlos would be able to go in there and say, I'm certified. Just put a freaking certification on there. You need to make sure it's approved by Equinox. So you could put ACE, you could put NASM, you could put NSCA, anyone you want. If you are a great trainer, they're not going to follow up with you. And you're going to say, oh my God, that's lying. What's lying, in my opinion, is all the fucking trainers that are out there that are certified, that do get hired, and they do not have the qualifications, and they're hurting people. Rhabdomyolysis, these are terms that were not around 10, 15 years ago in fitness, but it's happening because trainers do not fucking know the human body. And so what we're trying to do here is to teach you guys and girls that this industry is fucked up. When you are smart, when you take the time, look at Carlos's page. I don't know if you have this saved in like your memories, but he will be spending Friday night studying anatomy. He would be focusing on program. He put in the work. He didn't do it. I just got a text the other day from a girl who wants to get NASM certified. And she said, I have 3 days. I got to really hurry to get through this so I can start training people. And that's what's wrong with this, our industry. You shouldn't be rushing into trying to work with people. You got to take a step back and go, why do 80 to 90% of trainers quit within 90% quit within a year of getting hired at a corporate gym? This isn't going to be Carlos. I guarantee you a year from now, he's going to be all badged up. He's going to be super high up on the Equinox chart. He's going to have a whole different story because he's not that average trainer. The average trainer quits because of that process they go through. They want that quick cert because it gives them false confidence. So as you can tell, I get fired up about this and I can go off for a long time, but this is about Carlos today. So Carlos, for those that are watching and they want to get hired at Equinox, elevator speech, what would you tell them?
If they want to get hired, if you're saying somebody, if they want to get hired at Equinox, what would I would tell them?
Yep.
I would say, Equinox is one of those companies that, they care about their product to a level. They were one of the first company to invest in education for their trainers. They definitely care about a client experience, and that's something that you should have your core values connected with them as far as that goes.
Preston, so what about the preparation? What would you tell them about how to get hired?
As far as the preparation, the basic questions, they're going to come at you. Why do you want to work here? What can you offer us? Where are some areas that you struggle? What did you do to overcome those struggles? And definitely in the end, be yourself, be who you are. If you try to be somebody that you're not, they're going to notice that right away. Just be the confident, best version of yourself, and you'll be just fine.
I'm looking forward to the next step with you and the clients that you have. And you're always welcome to reach out, and we're going to be doing an FMS with you soon, because like Dean did, I think it's, I can't wait to maybe in a month or so when you are training to come over there, and I'll pay your hourly rate and you'll take me through a workout, and I'm looking forward to learning from you.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that. Just real excited right now, Chris. I don't even know what to say. I just, I'm trying to hold it all in. Got one more week.
It's going to be here, and you're just going to crush it, and the sky's the limit. So what's and subscribe, follow us on Instagram. We got Show Up Fitness internship. If you want to become a great trainer, showupfitness.com. And most importantly, your favorite trainer with a belt buckle, check out my book, How to Become a Successful Personal Trainer. We will help you no matter where you are. All you got to do is show up. Woo!